So, as we honor those who have transitioned, I feel like that we should honor their wishes when they were living. So, if a person tells you what their wishes are and you love them or you just want to pay your respects, then once they have passed on, we should continue on to honor those wishes in their name. So, if a person tells you that they don't want or don't like the idea of empathy, then we should honor that. Should they pass, we shouldn't show empathy because that's not what that person would have wanted, right? I don't know. But I know that's no way to start a show. So I will start over and I will read right back. Well, hello, and welcome to In Your Ear Radio. I am your host, Latoya. Always very happy to be with you. Your presence is my present, and I hope that you all are enjoying this beautiful Saturday here in Las Vegas. What is the weather like? I don't know. Let me check. I haven't really been outside yet, but I plan on doing so. 83 degrees. That's what they're telling us. Okay, I don't know. But anyways, 83 degrees is good, and then later on this evening, it'll maintain. It'll stay. It'll get as low as maybe 74, but that's good. I love the spring. I love the fall here in Las Vegas because the weather is, yeah. The winter's not even so bad here, to be honest. The winter is not even so bad. It's just that summer, it feels like hell. Haven't been to hell. Don't know what it's like, but I imagine yeah, Las Vegas has hell's DNA. I'll just say that, okay? So anyways, thank you all for joining me live on In Your Ear Radio. Y'all know we got a lot to talk about, right? We just can't avoid the drama. We can't make this stuff up, but we have to talk about it. We have to vent. We have to get it off our chest. We have to make sense out of it and, decide how what effects it has in our life and what we're going to do about it. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about so much. We're going to get into Charlie Kirk. We definitely got to talk about this white on white crime because this is some real stuff. The media is not going to talk about it, but we have an epidemic. There is an epidemic when it comes to white on white crime. So we're going to get into that as well. So don't you fret. We got a lot to get into, and I hope that you guys will share your thoughts and feelings in the chat. And, we're not here to bash or, just celebrate in any way for those who may feel a way about people who have transition. We're not here to do that. We're basically here to just talk about what it means, what your legacy means. We all have a legacy, and when we leave that legacy here for the rest to tell. So what does that mean? And we'll get into that. But yeah, so I want to get into a lot of other things, you guys. Hey, it's fight night, right? Ain't it fight night? Look, we got here in Vegas, it's lit. Okay, it's gonna be lit. It is lit. I'm sure right now. I haven't been out in these streets, and I'm looking forward to it. Shout out to GB who's in the chat on YouTube, and all of you joining me on Facebook as well, and on YouTube. I appreciate y'all. We got a lot going on, right? We got the fight. It's fight night, okay? At the Allegiant Stadium tonight, you guys. At the Allegiant Stadium. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to watch the fight with Canelo Alvarez. We call him Canelo out here in these streets. He's the undisputed middleweight champion. He is defending his title, okay? He is fighting against Terrence Crawford, who is an undefeated in his class. He's undefeated 3-division champion, moving up to 168 pounds to fight Canelo for the first time. Who y'all got? Listen, I like them both. I can be a little biased and say I'm rooting for the brother. I would be like, what's her name? I'm rooting for everybody black. But I don't think there's any losses here. But this is a big deal. This is a big deal, and I'm looking forward to it. This fight is touted as one in a lifetime. So just highlighting the legacy and skills of both of these fighters, that's Crawford and also Canelo. So it's touted to be a landmark event in boxing history. And yeah, so who y'all got? Who do y'all got? And I just want to share this fun fact again. All right, Vegas live podcast says he has Crawford. Okay, all right, all right. Listen, I'm with you. The thing about I always mention whenever Canelo fights is just a fun fact for me is that Canelo is the only known boxer. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. That is called famously by his first name. Any other boxer that we know, we have Floyd Mayweather, we say his first and his last name, his whole government name, Terrence Crawford, and any of the other boxers, we know them by their last name commonly when we may say their full name. But when it comes to Canelo, which means cinnamon in Espanol, he goes by his first name and people address him by his first name. So if you're in the chat and you want to share your thoughts, you want to correct me, you want to tell me I'm wrong, name one boxer name one boxer that we famously call by his or her first name. And yeah, even Clarissa Shields. I just think about all the boxers, male or female, I'm just saying. So shout out to that tonight. That's going to be what's up. Also, I don't know what you guys are reading, but I know I kind of wagged my finger at this book last week when I was chatting with you guys. A Family Across the Street. This is written by Nicole Trope. Don't know her, but I wasn't really excited about reading, but it's like a murder mystery or I don't know. But it's good. Okay. I couldn't put it down. I could have read it in 2 days if I had the time, but I didn't have the time. But it's definitely a page turner. And I'm so excited because I'm actually reading the book. This is my first book in the book club that I actually read it versus using the audio book, which has worked out for me too. That was new to me. Just joining the club, I got introduced to audiobooks, but reading the book, The Family Across the Street, is a great page turner if you like mystery and thrillers. I'm enjoying it, and I can't wait till it gets to the end because we're going to discuss the book tomorrow. But what are y'all reading? Okay. Here's a fun fact. I mean, maybe it's not fun, but just interesting because we're talking about the United States. Okay. Let's get into that. And I want to just shout out Marmac, he says the fight is going to be tough. He said he got Bud. So who was Bud? Is that Crawford or is that Canelo? Bud. Do they call him somebody Bud? I don't know. Educate me. But anyway, it's going to be a tough fight. I agree. It's going to be a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, getting into these books, in 1968, the FBI director Edgar J. Hoover announced that his agents that were in COINTELPRO were doing counterintelligence program against the Black bookstores. Okay. So even back then, we think that we've gotten so far away from where we've been. But still here we are. We know there's a lot of book banning going on, but there was actually a book ban on Black bookstores. So I encourage you guys to find you a Black bookstore and buy your books from Black bookstores. I want to say there's a website. Instead of going to Amazon, it's bookshop.org where you can find all of your Black bookstores or Black books as well. So just a little something to put out there because we're going to get into that too. Like, we in trying times now and we have to do for self. And we are definitely in a position, if we hadn't thought to do for self, we're being forced to do that. For those who are just, feeling complacent, listen, this is a time to rise up and organize and become a community amongst ourselves and stop playing the game that they played on us, divide and conquer. So this is that time. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into Charlie Kirk. We're going to get into so much. But I definitely want to just, mention some of the things that have happened since the last time we talked last week. Okay. 9/11. That was just 2 days ago, the 24-year anniversary of 9/11. Do you guys remember where you guys were during 9/11? I remember my son was in elementary school, not the best time of my life, but I was dropping him off to school when we learned that the towers had been, I guess, bombed, you can say, with airplanes, right? And I just thought I didn't know what to think or to feel. I just felt like the whole world or the whole country was about to go down. But now that I think about it, I didn't pull my son out of school. I went ahead and let him stay in school and watch TV all day to see what was happening. And it stayed isolated to the Pentagon, the Twin Towers, and in New York City. But it was very, very traumatic. I remember a guy telling me, before all of this happened, that was former military, that here in the United States, we never have to worry about any attacks on U.S. soil because we have the best military. And so that was never a threat for us to be bombed in the way that we, as our military goes to other countries and bombs. We didn't have to worry about that because of the air protection we have. Shout out to the Air Force and things of that nature. So my point in saying that is that, people are smart, and they, rules are made to be broken, and they find ways to get in, even if there's blocks in the way to prevent them. And so to me, I do consider it a bombing, the planes hitting the towers. So, that was their way, because they can't just, these missiles get shot down before they come to the United States. So they found other ways to infiltrate. And I think about the Vietnam War, where there was guerrilla warfare. That was something that our soldiers were not prepared for. They weren't trained to be prepared for. And in guerrilla warfare, one of the things that happened was these soldiers would be out in these fields. This is foreign territory for them. If you watch any Vietnam War movies, you can visualize what the experience was as I described this. But there would be the Vietnamese would be carrying live babies crying. And so that would make the soldiers vulnerable, thinking this is a civilian and they're not a threat. And so the soldiers would come and approach the civilians with the crying baby, and the baby would explode and kill everybody, whoever was in that vicinity. So, we think about our military, and we think about the strength and the force and just what we have, but we cannot sleep. Don't sleep, because sleep is the cousin of death. Okay. But we can't sleep because people are always striving to stay alive, to survive, and to rise above any oppression or whatever the situation may be. And even though there are things in place that may make it more difficult for them to rise above, they're always strategically planning. I just think about these different tactics that people are using. When I think about 9/11, the different tactics that they use to infiltrate our military and to attack innocent people. Over 3,000 people lost their lives 9/11. That was in 2021. People are still suffering today. They've developed cancer, post-traumatic stress syndrome, just so many. You think about all that smoke that they ingested, so many lives lost, and can't say that everybody's being treated well. And that, it's crazy. A lot of things came into effect because of 9/11, the birth of ICE. So we think about ICE in this day and time, that we didn't have this immigration, what do we call it, police force or whatever they're called. But ICE was born out of this. And one of the things that also changed was Black people got to fall back, and the racial profiling fell off us. And if you just wore, wrapped your hair, you had a hijab on, or if you looked Middle Eastern, you became the new Negroes. And I'm saying that, softly, because I don't use the N-word like that. But yeah, so it was the Middle Eastern people who were the ones who were being racially profiled. It was a way you got on a plane and you saw somebody with their head wrapped or looked Middle Eastern, and you just automatically associated them with being a terrorist. And that's a lot to do with social conditioning here in the United States of America, which is another thing we're going to dig into. The whole conversation is going to be built around that. Shout out to Marmac, who's telling me Bud is Crawford. Oh, I didn't know that they called him Bud, or you called him Bud. Anyway, yeah, I'm rooting for everybody Black. Okay. Yeah, it is what it is. So much changed since 9/11. The TSA rules. Remember, you could just walk on a plane. I mean, even prior to that, remember, people could smoke on planes. You could just bring anything on plane. I bet it was hella drug smuggling before they had all these new rules. But you could smoke on a plane. You could walk your family up to the gate, watch them fly away. And now, of course, we can't do any of that, all as a result of the terrorist attacks in 9/11. There's more surveillance. Those who surveil us got permission from the powers that be to be able to tap our phones without cause, just because they are concerned about protecting America. And so, we lost a lot of rights, as well, and privileges also. I just think about George W. Bush, who they showed in the video. I remember watching the old videos and documentaries where he was sitting in a classroom, looked like some elementary kids reading a book to him. Can he read? Listen, okay, let me stop playing with folks. But anyways, he was reading a book to kids when this bombing happened, and they said it took him a minute to get up off his, his cushion, if he got one, his butt, to actually respond and react. So that was kind of suspect. But at the same time, you had Cheryl Underwood praising this man, because then he got gangsters saying we going after them and guns are blazing, and said, what did he say? It was a quote. He said, first time, shame on them. Second time, shame on me. Third time, ain't gonna be no. He couldn't even say the quote right, so I'm saying it crazy because he said it crazy. But that was George, the president at the time in 2021, George H, right? George H. Bush, George W. I'm sorry, H was his dad, George W. Bush, and yeah, but Cheryl Underwood bigged him up. She was a strong, hardcore Republican. If y'all don't know, she's a black woman. She was host on one of the talk. A comedian, always came out on stage with her little purse. And I ain't mad at her, but she really just thought this man was gangster because he was ready to fight. And of course, we know they went over there looking for the terrorists, looking for the Taliban, and came back and got all the opiates. And now we have an opiate epidemic because of that. So congratulations, okay, on war. And that's what I'm learning. Every time I read about war, the more I learn about war, it's always associated not with just taking what doesn't belong to you, but it also is associated with drugs. And the next thing that follows is disease or epidemics. So, but it's interesting. And I remember Kanye, that's when he was, with us. He got on MTV. I think it was an award show or some type of thing going on, standing next to a white man who was also a comedian. He was like, George Bush don't care about black people with the Katrina thing. And I'm just thinking about that because also, that was something that I watched recently, was the Katrina documentaries. Because if you guys don't know, this is also the 20th anniversary of the Hurricane Katrina, where many lives were lost, thousands of lives, mostly elderly and disabled people who could not get out of the country, but out of the city to refuge. And so I remember Kanye speaking to that. And at the time, again, that was the president, right? And that was crazy. That was in 2005, August 23rd in New Orleans. And I watched, there's a new one on Hulu I haven't watched yet. And I haven't completed the third episode on Netflix, but I love it. I think it's great. It's very eye-opening and just it mirrors what we're experiencing now. For people who don't understand what's going on, and this is what America is made of, the DNA of America, watch these documentaries. Watch this one on Netflix. Again, it's called Come Hell or High Water, directed by David Grand. It was just crazy because these people were stranded. Some people, the people that could get out did get out. The people that could get out and chose not to, being stubborn and say, hey, we've experienced these hurricanes time and time again, and we withstood them. But unfortunately, in this case, they knew this was going to be a big one and that these levees were not going to hold all of this water, and the powers that be had to make a decision. Do we let this water hit the city, the downtown area, the moneymaker, or do we turn these levees to where this water hits? I think it was Ward 4, the fourth ward, where there was predominantly Black people, many who were maybe not well off, poor per se. And they made the decision to drown out, instead of drowning out a city that was evacuated, a downtown area. They decided to drown out an area full of Black people who could not escape, and they lost their homes, they lost their lives, they lost so much. And shout out to the Army General Russell Honore. I like this guy. I listened to an interview of him recently, and on Urban View Radio, Urban View Mornings. I think it's Dr. Carl Lamar King, and he was on there, and he reminded me of so much of the late great Joe Madison, who used to sit in that seat on Urban View Radio. And so he was just discussing what happened then. But watching the documentary, listening to him, you had a governor, this white woman at the time, who was being told there's a lot of looting, they're taking stuff. And so she gets on TV during this tragedy, and she's telling the military, because now they brought in the military, the police force can't handle everything, and she's telling the military to shoot to kill, shoot the looters. She's on TV telling them to shoot looters. And who we think those people are in particular? Of course, it was majority Black people, but the documentary also shows how, with the social conditioning thing and how perceptions are built, that when the white people were seen in the water, very few, but were seen in the water with food, looting, as they called it, they said these people were surviving and getting food out of grocery stores to survive. But when you saw a Black person, it was like they're looting and stealing. No, motherfucker, they trying to stay alive, okay? The city is underwater, and they need to stay alive, and nobody is coming to save them. And that's what we're going to talk about too. Nobody is coming to save us. And how do we deal with that? What are we going to do about that? Are we just going to get down, or are we going to lay down? What movie was that on? I always forget. I'm so bad. I'll be quoting stuff and then I forget the name of the movie, but it'll come to me. But these people were struggling, and nobody was coming to help. It took forever for the president, again, George Bush, to come out and save these people. And he flew around in a fucking helicopter looking at the damages. He didn't get to the ground. In order to have a level of empathy, sometimes you have to kind of see what people are experiencing. If you haven't experienced it, you have to get close enough. Unfortunately, some people just don't have heart. Some people just born with heart, and some people you have to feel their hearts and have and so he didn't even come into Katrina and go to the ground and see what these people were going through. They were putting them in super domes and, again, treating them like criminals. You had a governor saying shoot to kill. Even a black mayor, Ray Nagin, if I'm saying his name correctly, he also followed the orders to stop the search and rescue and go after looters. So they were more concerned with property, which is insured, which was damaged. You couldn't do shit with it anyway. But he followed these orders and went ahead of the governor and said, okay, we're going to stop the search and rescue, getting these people off, to a safe area. And let's worry about property, insured property. Let's worry about damaged property. And so we just showed how how racism is real, how people are heartless and people don't have empathy. Shout out to Charlie Kirk, reason why he may not have believed in empathy. And, the not so funny thing is this particular mayor who served from 2002 to 2010, Ray Nagin, in New Orleans, he was actually sentenced and convicted for federal bribery, money laundering, and other corruption charges in 2014. He served a 10-year sentence. And now, since then, because I think he was released in 2024 after his supervised supervision ended, is asking to restore his rights, his voting rights and his gun rights. So that's where he's at right now since 2024. I don't know if he's progressed in restoring his rights, but it's just interesting to me, people being in positions like that, people that look like you, that would allow people to treat people that look like you like garbage and trash, like they're discardable, like they did those people in Katrina. Please go watch that documentary, because it really gives you a perspective on what's going on. And the interesting thing I also was reading is that the current mayor is also, which I knew, Latoya Cantrell, she's also being indicted on wire fraud. A little bit different. For Ray Nagin, the former mayor, he was on federal bribery, money laundering, and other corruption charges again. But for her, it was wire fraud and obstruction of justice. They're saying that she was spending money with her security boyfriend and travel. She was using state funds, so she was writing it off. And, what I've learned is you hardly ever see white people being indicted. And that's not to say that they are not doing the exact same thing, because I do believe that these people, they finagle and they work the system. And I don't think these people, if they are, this is what they actually did, this is alleged, especially in a case where she has not been convicted. Sometimes you get targeted because you're a Black person and you are standing up against those who you don't agree with. And so they go and dig and they find dirt on you. But it's a little bit harsh. The sentencing and the whole process of criminalizing you is much more harsh if you're a Black person. And so, that's crazy. But I definitely, General Honore was great. When he came down to Katrina and he saw, literally, you can see on the video, they're pointing guns at people. They're pointing these guns at people. And he's saying, put them damn guns down. And I love the way he talks. He gangster, he's a Black man. He real light. He about my color or lighter. I think he almost look white. Okay, I look Black. He look white. But anyway, he's a Black man. And he came out there and was like, hell to the no, put them guns down. You need to get these people help. How are you pointing guns on people that are at the waters at their neck? Okay, what is going on here? What is going on here? This is America. This is a country that we live in, and it's crazy. So I just want to big up General Honore, and I just look forward to hearing more from him. I was listening to him in that interview, and when the conversation was over, he was just like, bye. Just like that. And I was just like, oh, that's Joe Madison all day. But I just want to remind people, and this is a quote that Mr. Joe Madison, who I always quote, even since the departure since he's become an ancestor, is that in America, we are culturally conditioned to believe that the black man is inferior and the white man is superior. And the manifestation of that is that we are undervalued, underestimated, and marginalized. You can see that in many, many ways. I take that back to even the Band-Aid. I even pointed out to the fact that, when we would, as women, we go buy pantyhose, and the ones that mirror the skin of a white woman, the skin tone of a white woman, are called nude. So when we're looking for nude things, a nude Band-Aid, it's the complexion of the white person's flesh. And those are just kind of the cultural and social conditionings that we've been experiencing our entire time here, under this regime, I would say. And so, it's just crazy. But on a lighter note, did you guys follow the Cardi B trial? Look, we didn't get to talk about it last week. We talked about, building the multiple streams of income. We had a guest on, and we talked to her. But so I didn't get to catch up on these things that happened a little bit later. But did you guys watch that trial, the Cardi B trial? It was just so humorous to me. I've always liked her, even when she was on Love and Hip Hop, or she's a real person. I love real, authentic people. Like, you just being yourself. I gravitate towards people who are just themselves. I don't like people who try to put on a facade or try to act like they're better than, or just put on this, bougie persona, or try, just be you, be honest, be true. And I think that about her. But that freaking trial where she was being sued for over, I think, close to $24 million by a former security guard who said that she had put her hands on her, said that Cardi B put her hands on her. Cardi B was pregnant at the time. She said, hell to the no, I did not touch her. She's like, I'm wild in these streets, but I know what I do and don't do, and I'm not taking any mess from anybody. And she went along to say that she's not, anybody else that sues her, they gonna have to come out of their pocket. She's gonna start countersuing folks. So anyway, that was funny. And I just enjoyed watching that. But shout out to Black people anyway here in the United States. No matter what they tell us, there have been studies time and time again that prove that we the shit. Okay, we the shit. And there's the latest report that says that the top 5 influential people here in the United States. Guess who number 1 is? Drum roll. Black men and women. Our culture, the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we wear our hair, just our whole setup, the music. You have to remember that even the banjo, which is like, maybe I'll say the epitome of country music, comes from Africa. We brought that here to the continent. Rock and roll, the blues, rhythm and blues, our style. People mimic us. They love our rhythm, but they don't want our blues. But people mimic us. They just don't give us credit. And that goes back in history too, because we think about history and the ways in which we created so many things. Y'all got a president who's saying, oh, we, when he say we, he's talking about white people in America, invented everything. And, there was a time, and it still is, we invented so many things that all of us take advantage of. Shout out to the Iron Board, shout out to, some forms of electricity, the heart transplant. I mean, the list is long. Y'all could add to it. But we're influential in so many ways because we're just creative. But there was a time when even when we, now we can get a patent and we can get credit for it. But there was a time when we created things and we didn't get credit for it. And because it was illegal for Black people to have patents. So a lot of the things that people don't realize that we did create and probably will never know about is because it wasn't allowed to be said. It wasn't allowed to be said. We were marginalized. We were minimized. We were all of those things that I said when it comes to social and cultural conditioning. So yeah, so there's a blackout coming up, you guys, September 16th to the 20th. Go to blackoutthesystem.com to learn more about that. And Roland Martin also wants to know is how many things, go through your things and figure out how many things that you purchase, that you spend your money on that are Black owned. Just start doing a little inventory, auditing, and see how many of the things that you purchase are contributing to Black wealth. Are you buying Black products? What I have on now is lip bars, a Black owned vegan lipstick, and I love it. It's my favorite, actually. So that's one thing I have that's Black owned for sure. But what do you have in your closet you can say for sure that is Black owned? And are you working towards buying more products and contributing to the wealth? Because we spend about 2.2 trillion, right? 2.2 trillion, greater than some countries' gross domestic products. Okay, we can have our own country to ourselves and circulate our money amongst ourselves and have each other create generational wealth through community. So there's something to think about, the blackout. September 16th to September 20th. We'll get into that more next week. There's a lot going on, y'all. Races, we know that they've taken out race as far as being considered for college admissions, but now the Supreme Court has ruled it's okay to racially profile people under the ICE thing. So if you look like you don't belong here, whatever that means, then they can just walk up to you. They can step up to you. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot going on. And yeah, it's really, really sad. It's really, really sad. Also, AI is out of control. I was reading an article where they were talking about a black truck driver had been missing and they found him dead and it was a rope noose next to him and all of these things, but it was fake. The person was fake, the photo was fake, the name was fake, the story was fake, and we have to watch out for AI. In the meantime, we're also, there's articles saying, I've talked about AI a lot, but I just want to just put a bug in your ear that we might have to, find some trades, you guys. We might have to go to being, masonry and carpentry and electricians. And I don't know about these automobiles because they kind of on the AI tip too. But just things that we can still do, side job and things that we can still do to build wealth for our families and be able to have some form of income. Because there's an article saying by 2030, 99% of jobs are going away. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of fast. That's like less than 5 years away. But I called a hotel to book a room and I had to have a whole conversation with a machine before they finally decided they would let me speak with a human. Okay. And these humans, they something else too. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I'd rather talk to AI, but it's just a thing, that there are so many things that are replacing our job. When you go into grocery stores, you have this self-checkout. Ain't nobody paying us to check out our own stuff and bag our own stuff. I'm saying there's a book, I say a pamphlet because it's really small, but it's called As a Man Thinketh. There's also one As a Woman Thinketh. But one of the excerpts I always quote is that don't hate the oppressor, hate the oppressed, because we allow ourselves to go through the things that we experience, right? Like we could just protest. A form of protest is not always marching in the streets and yelling and screaming or getting on social media. A protest is not going to self-check, like hell to the no. Shout out to Whitney Houston. That's a form of protest. No different from, I remember Mr. Joe Madison gave this example, babies protest. When a baby cries, that's a form of protest. So there's so many different ways that we can protest. And instead we just fall in line. You know what I'm saying? We just fall in line and we allow these things to be done to us. And then we look up and it's like, we're at the mercy of the people who control everything because we've allowed them to control us. I think about customer service. You think about all the things that AI is replacing and you still have to find a way to be able to feed your family. What are you going to do when AI replaces your source of income, affects your livelihood? And I just want to put that out there. I also want to put that out there that, child, these people, this is America. I'm just reminding y'all that even your food, we know processed foods, we know that they, them French fries at McDonald's, we know them burgers, that they last for a lifetime. You can eat them 20 years later and they still not gonna, I guess, rot. They sprinkling cognac on them French fries. I guarantee you, there's some comedy show I listen to when he's telling the guy, he's gonna, it's a prank, but he's calling the people and he's telling them, hey, something happened and, I left my car with y'all and now this happened. And they're like, nah, some crazy story. And he's like, nah, that wasn't us. And he's like, well, I guarantee you, if you don't replace it, I'm going to come down there and whoop your ass. Well, I guarantee you, that they just doing some crazy stuff with our food. It's bad enough that our food is fake. So it enters our body and it causes our cells to mutate. And that's why you have so many people with autoimmune diseases, cancer rampant, young people just dying, older people dying. You have lupus, all types of autoimmune disease. It's because of what we're putting in our body because our body doesn't recognize it. And so our cells mutate and they just do what they do. Well, now do you have companies like Nestle, even Walmart products, Krispy Kreme? They're protesting or fighting against these Ozempic and the Moderna and all these different products that people historically have used to fight diabetes. Some people are using strictly as a weight loss drug now. Well, it's causing people not to eat more snacks. Okay, they don't even worry about the new snacks that ain't came out yet. They ain't even focused on the new snacks that ain't came out yet. They curbs your appetite. So whatever the GLP-1 drug does, which is suppressing the appetite, it mimics a natural hormone and it leads to significant weight loss. Because if you're not hungry, for me, I don't have a hungry issue. I do get hungry when I'm stressed or I lack sleep or I'm just bored. But a lot of times I eat because I just want to eat. Food is good, So I don't know if that's going to be an issue for me because I could be full and still eat. But they're doing for people who are under these drugs, this GLP-1 drugs, they're now finding ways to alter the food to where they do crave this food still. This is so freaking crazy, y'all. So this is y'all country. This is America. These are the people. Do we empathize with these people that are doing this? If something happens to them tragically, do we empathize with them too? Because they're trying to tear us down and break us down and kill us and take us away from our families early. And when you have these autoimmune diseases from eating processed foods and all of these chemicals that they put in there and cause you to crave certain foods, you die a slow, tragic, painful death. So for those of you who are not, shout out to this being also Prostate Awareness Month. If you are 45 or older, men, please go out and get your prostate checked because you can survive. The majority of people do survive. But if you ignore getting tested, it's not going to stop the slow, painful death that may be caused because you didn't, get ahead of it and prevent yourself from having that. So this is what these people are doing to us. There are around 7 million Americans who are already using these drugs, which their estimates suggesting that 24 million could be on them by 2035. I get it. I'm not going to say the thought doesn't cross my mind to go get cosmetic surgery, liposuction, or try these GLP-1 drugs. But I'm scary. I'm so scared of side effects. No, I ain't gonna be able to do it. That's all I'm saying. Because I feel like, I don't want to deal with the side effects. And I know people who have experienced some life-threatening side effects. So, I'm not wagging my finger at anybody. You do what works for you. And hopefully you don't have any of those side effects. But you can take an aspirin. It says right on there. There was a Z-Pack. If you guys aren't familiar with that, a lot of people take that. It's for, I guess when you have a flu or it's like a form of an antibiotic. And I remember reading on there the side effects, because I do read stuff before I ingest stimulating. Doctors try to give you medication. And one of the top things that said it may cause death. It wasn't at the bottom. You know how they say with ingredients, the main ingredient is at the first. And then you get down further the list, and the lowest one on the list is not as much in there. But the main ingredients first. So if you're looking at something in food content, and the first thing it says is water or sugar, that's the main thing. Let the main thing be the main thing, y'all. And the main thing in this situation is that these people want you to eat their snacks, and they don't give a damn if you die. And they probably voted against healthcare, universal healthcare, and all of those things. So these big food companies are adapting. They're researching ways to create products and still appeal to those on weight loss drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all not getting enough money. I keep telling y'all that some people don't believe in God. Their Lord and Savior is the dollar bill, y'all. Okay. And that's just what it is. So that's what it is. And it just raises, serious ethical questions. And we know that, because why are they even being allowed to do this? Why is the FDA and people who are in positions to be able to tell them no and to protect us are, you go to places like Canada and the UK, and, even with gel nails in the UK, there's an ingredient that may cause cancer. They're saying, get it out of here. You can make products that don't cause cancer. Shout out to OPI that has a polish that does not cause cancer, a gel polish. So there's ways around it, but people are so cheap, and maybe they have a vested interest in your health because they also invest in pharmaceuticals and medicine and surgeries and all of these things. And it's just really, really sad. To me, it's just an evil world we live in. Do we empathize with these people? I don't know. Do we empathize with these people should their demise come, which ain't nobody getting out of here alive, right? Do we empathize with people who live their waking days plotting and praying on our downfall? They actually gain from our downfall. Do we empathize with these people? I don't know. And so, yeah, it's really crazy, but they've been allowed to do it. All right, so we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. I need to get this off my chest. I'm sure many of you in the chat need to do the same. So we're going to get into it. And then I can just woosah and go on with my life, like the little girl in daycare. Listen, Linda, I can't wait to get away from y'all so I can get on with my life. That's how I feel about this, because I feel like we're being pumped. Shout out to Ashton Kutcher. Like, I heard somebody say that when it comes to the Republican Party and these white nationalists and this MAGA party, that these people are literally they're strategically just bombarding us with shits And I call it that because it smells, it stinks. None of it is good. It's just and shit. Nothing comes from shit. I mean, cow manure is another thing, but if it's bullshit, it's not, nothing grows from bullshit. And again, I guess I'm just channeling Mr. Joe Madison because that's something he taught me as well. Speaking of farmers, a lot of farmers were sold bullshit. I mean, literally. And so bullshit does not reproduce. Cow manure does, and it makes sense. If you think about the female genes, we are very, very we bring forth life, in all forms and all, they consider humans animals. So with the cow, which is a female bull, right? Is that right? Is that how you say it? But anyways, they have the nutrients that helps to build a calf and bring it to adulthood, and male or female. And so they have those nutrients that are put into the soil to help grow. But bullshit don't do shit. What shit? Okay. And so that's how I feel like they're feeding us. So again, there was somebody who said, yeah, they're just compounding, they're just throwing stuff at us. And if y'all don't think that's not what's happening, you are sleeping and you need to get up. You've had enough rest. You look great. It's time to stay focused. You have family to think about. You have a future to think about. We need to focus on what these people are doing, because they stand on mission. They've been on this, especially since 1965 when we got our Voting Rights Act, and just so many different permissions to be able to live or try to be on an equal playing field. We've seen so many of those things be reversed, like swiftly. Within, what month are we in now? September. Within 9 months, y'all, okay? It's going down. So, if you guys have been living under a rock and you haven't heard the news, many of you probably don't even know who this guy is, or now just learned about who he is since his demise, Charlie Kirk, who was murdered while speaking in front of a Utah group of college students September 10th, the day before September 11th, and was shot in the neck, y'all. I didn't watch the video. Did anybody watch the video? I didn't watch it. I know some people that I live with, they just kept watching it. They like looking at crazy stuff like that. But I don't like stuff like that in my brain. I don't like to even have it in my thoughts. I don't like to, come up. You know how you have random dreams? It's probably something we've seen before and it just plays out. And it's like a whole hodgepodge of stuff that you taken in visually and mentally. And so I try to not have that vision in my head. And I don't get nothing from it. I know some people just like to see things. I remember back in the day, there was a shooting. I was at the movie theater with my cousins. We were like, I think we were teenagers at the time, and a guy was killed at the, they wanted to go see the body. They wanted to go to the car and see the body. And I just wanted to go, and they would not allow us to leave. For one, the car I had drove was taped off. And so they said, no, your car is part of the investigation. You can't leave. Different from this situation where this man was shot and killed. They immediately apprehended someone who happened to, they say, not be the killer, but they accused him of being the suspect, took him to jail, decided that he wasn't the guy. I think it was an elderly man too, I'm not sure, but held him on obstruction of justice, probably because he was giving a middle finger and telling them to go F themselves. I don't know. I'm just making that up. But everybody else is free to go once they grab this one person. Mind you, I told you I was at a movie theater, and the police was like, nah, son, everybody's staying. Don't nobody leave until we figure out who got something to do with this and get the information we need. So it was a long night for us. And again, my family, the rest of them, I was different. I'm always different. I'll be ready to go. Whenever there's a problem, I'm trying to go the other way. My people, they're a little different. They want to go in the direction of the problem. I ain't judging. I'm just telling you the difference in personalities. And so again, comparing the situation when Charlie Kirk was shot, they apprehended one person, let everybody leave. Like, y'all know who did it. Y'all good. Like, y'all just gonna let everybody leave. You don't want to interview anybody. You don't want to check people's hands for gunpowder. Now, I understand that they said it was 200 yards away that the shooting happened, but y'all don't think anybody else in that at Utah in that field had anything to do with it? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of suspect stuff. So my conspiracy theory, I'll call it common sense. I mean, common sense, you just start thinking about things like why they just let people go, and, just how did this person get away, and things of that nature. But we know later on they did find, supposedly they have the shooter, a 22-year-old white MAGA male. Interesting. But what was even more interesting and frustrating and almost angering to me is just seeing the comments from people who look like me, maybe even a few shades darker, kind of wag their finger at people who were just, I mean, there's no there's no lack of quotes from Charlie Kirk and all the negative things he said. I haven't heard one positive thing besides people saying positive things about him, but I haven't seen any clips where he's saying positive things. Even when he was being a so-called Christian and praying, he was saying negative things against other humans that he didn't necessarily agree with their way of life or their existence. Because how you gonna talk about black people? Like, we just came into the world. Like, why are we in it? Why are you mad at God because He created us? I'm just saying.com. So I didn't hear anything trending that he may have said that would be considered positive to those of us who do have empathy, who do have a sense of humanity in their hearts and minds and soul. It was just people saying, "Oh, he was a Christian and he didn't deserve this," and I'm just like, what is a Christian? What is a Christian? I'm just so many posts. What really got me was reading like leaders, like people who Dr. Umar Johnson. Okay, really though, Doctor, that really shocked me. And he got on and talked, and I'm gonna read what he had to say because and I didn't necessarily see people celebrating his demise. Not to say that that wasn't happening. Maybe my algorithm just don't pick up on people like that because I'm never gonna celebrate anyone's demise. I will say this, and I'm not gonna take it back, that there are some people who I believe are a menace to society and should not roam amongst us because they are a threat to humanity. It's the reason why we can't live peacefully here on earth. We have to wait to get to heaven because there are some people here, they all out. They're not taking lives to survive. They're not spewing negativity to survive. They're literally just a menace to society. They just enjoy watching people suffer. They just want to, by any means necessary, rule over and oppress people. Those type of people, we could do without here. I could strongly say that, and without any fear of contradiction or anything. And I think many people can agree on that. But I'm still not going to celebrate because I understand what death means, and I believe in karma and energy. So it's more to me that I wouldn't want that energy back on me. Oh, so you think that's cool? You like that? Okay, so let me show you, what it's like on your end, and let me see if you still think it's cool. So that's how I think about it when it comes to that. So I don't get myself caught up in it. But Dr. Umar got the nerves to go on his social media. This is a man who calls white women snow bunnies, who dogs out black men, up and down, straight up and down, for dating white women. Claims is he just with black women. He talks about black women who don't, he wants an all natural woman. I mean, recently, is saying if black woman, you want to date with him, pay $500 to his institution. I guess he has a school. I don't know if it's built yet or open. He's been talking about it for so long. I don't even follow that. But if women want to pay, black women only, want to pay $500, donate $500 to his institution, then he will pay for a date and take them out. His choice, and it's just in the town he lives in. I don't know where he's from. I want to say New Jersey, but I'm sure I'm wrong. But anyway, so this is a man. I'm just trying to paint the stage for you, who's supposed to be so pro-black, hotep, whatever, da da da. And he got on his social media pushing back on people who are, again, I haven't seen people necessarily celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, but just saying, look, this is the man who died. This is who he was. This is his legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if anybody got to go. But this is what he said. While I did not agree with Kirk's rhetoric and considered him to be an anti-black bigot, I will never rejoice at the loss of life of anyone who hasn't directly participated in the unaliving of a member of the Black African race. Before I continue, if you have been paying attention to the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk had been spewing, talking about black men, calling them thugs, gun holders, saying that the black man wasn't in the house and they flee their responsibilities, just dogging out anybody who wasn't a white man that looked just like him, that wasn't of the white race. Who's to say people that follow him aren't being indoctrinated into taking the lives of black people? So just because he may or may not have physically cause harm on a black man, woman, or child, or any human by his rhetoric, he incited or motivated and influenced others to do so. Because there's some people that's with it. You see, he got took out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's people that's with it. They ain't got nothing else to do. They coming out their basement with all their weapons and they with it. So you can say, oh, you never heard. Okay, maybe he never got caught doing anything, but that's not to say that he hasn't done anything. Okay, so I'm gonna go on and finish quoting Dr. Umar Johnson. He says, "I am ashamed to see members of my community celebrating this situation." This is what he said, and he said, "I will never ask you to mourn the loss of any enemy of our race, but to celebrate an unaliving is completely unacceptable." Who is he? Who is he? And why did he feel the need to say this? Like, what were you think people were going to feel shame? Those who may have celebrated an unaliving? I'm just saying, who is he? Okay. So he went on to say, "We know all too well that the greatest recipients of political assassinations in this country have been our own people." So why are our own people in it? Why is Malcolm X in it? Malcolm X never talked about or lied on white people. Dr. Martin Luther King never lied on white people. Those who spoke out against oppression and injustice as Black men and women did so because we were oppressed. This man, on the other hand, spewed hatred and celebrated oppression, okay? Celebrated the death of people, or said that, there has to be collateral damage with gun laws and allowing people to be shot and killed, okay? So let me just finish what he said. So he said, celebrating an unaliving is completely unacceptable. He said, "We know all too well that the greatest recipients of political assassinations in our country have been our own people." He said, "Stop laughing at the misfortunes of others and get prepared." Now, I can kind of my ear kind of go that way. You know how little puppies sit and they listen, and then when something real good happens, if you say treat, they little ear go up. My ear kind of went up with that. I got the get prepared part. Now you got my attention, because all that other stuff you was talking was like on Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. Instead of me getting mad, I would just, garbage in, garbage out. So he said, get prepared. He said, political assassinations have returned to the United States of America, courtesy of the deep state. What the fuck has he been? He said, have returned. When did they stop? What is wrong with people? This is the kind of stuff that aggravates me. And this is how it got me all, riled up. Because when did it go away? When did it go away? When have we been able to say fully what we want to say? We can't talk about, our perception of anything. If you talk about anything that has to do with the negativities that the Jewish community might be doing, you are automatically labeled as anti-Semitic, and you are under the radar, baby. Okay. If you talk about certain things, they are coming for you. Okay. So, and an assassination isn't necessarily by death. An assassination is by incarceration. Assassination is by defamation. So they just tear down your character. I mean, I don't agree with this, but an assassination can be what some people call what happened to Bill Cosby. And trust me, I'm not in agreement, but I'm just showing examples of what some people would consider political assassination. It's not always by a shot to the neck. It could be, just defaming you, just tainting your character. But I was like, really? So, and again, I didn't see anybody literally celebrating. I didn't hear people say yay, because again, most of the people I know didn't really know him. When I heard of his death, the name rang a bell. But it was like I was in my Evelyn Lozada mode. Shout out to Basketball Wives. I was like, he's a non-motherfucking factor. Like, I've heard about him and his rhetoric, and I turned him off like I do Candace Owens, right? These are people that go around talking about people who have died at the hands of police officers with a knee on their neck, been shot down. You have, all the names escape me, but just all of the things that they talk bad about people who were unjustly killed. So I turned them off. I would not play their clips. I wouldn't repeat what they said. And I just wish that they would go away. Not die, but just go away. Because you have people who don't read, who can't write, who don't care about the truth, that, all you got to do is talk with a little bass in your voice, and they think that you're telling the truth. And so you got people that follow people like Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, and they take this as law. Like, yeah, this is what it is. Black people are doing this. Mexicans are taking our jobs. Da, 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 da. And they live by it, and they go load up their weapons, and they go out and try to create, incite violence. So he doesn't have to physically go out and do these things. All he has to do is say the things, and then his followers will do the work. I mean, in the underworld, we know, some people, we got goons. Like, you got some people that keep their hands clean, right? They say, yo, so and so over here live on da 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 street, and they've been doing da 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 da. And then your goons, they just with it. They just waiting to get some type of reputation, some type of recognition. They with it. So yeah, who doing what? About time, boss. Let me go over there and handle that for you. Do I have your permission? Oh, you said they did what? Oh, and they go over and do it. So no, he may or may not have actually done anything to harm anyone, but he has done things that have caused harm to people by his rhetoric. And do we empathize with those type of people? And also, what do we call people like him? Or, okay, I'll even go further, because there may be some people who don't think he was that bad. He just said negative things about us and other people, gays, transgenders, and things of that nature. So man, he wasn't that bad. So what do we call people like Hitler? When our greats passed, we say they're ancestors now. What do we call the demons of the world? Those who got people who never got their hands dirty. Shout out to Hitler, allegedly, but had soldiers to do his dirt for him. He had his goons. He conditioned them, had their mind state in a way that conditioned them to go out and do the dirt. What do we call those people? Do we call them ancestors too? Do we call them ancestors too? And then you got people, I mean, the list is long. We got representatives, Cory Booker. We got so many people coming out and saying that we should not be speaking ill of the dead. The fuck? So you just gonna have to be immortal so we can continue to talk bad about you? Because once you die, we got to shut it off. Why? Why do we do that? Why do we do that? I'm not saying celebrate, but if that's your legacy, that's your legacy. You know what I'm saying? If that's your legacy, that's your legacy. Tell me something different. Tell me something different. And this is his man saying it himself. This is Charlie Kirk. There's so many clips. I mean, we could just have a whole show just playing clips of him saying some of the illest shiznai, shout out to Lil Scrappy, that you can say. Here's Charlie Kirk.
About empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up new age term that it does a lot of damage. About empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up new age term that it does a lot of damage.
He said it himself. So now y'all don't even want this man to die in peace. He wanted his posthumous wish is not to empathize with people. So now you want us to have empathy? Out of all the people in the world who die, because people dying every day, it's people that's dying that ain't never died before, okay? And we need to have empathy for this person. It's bad enough that we're having so much conversation about it. Like, there was a police officer that was killed in the line of duty, saving people from the CDC. This was a black man. Nope, you don't see that trending. My black people not even talking about this cop. Nobody's talking about it. They're talking about Charlie Kirk. And, some of them, not all, okay? Because I surround myself with like-minded people, but I'm also on social media. Some people are wagging their fingers at the black community. I've seen black men come out that, I mean, literally day in and out, they talk about their life, their family, their fashion. And this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Charlie Kirk, who they probably didn't even follow too. They probably didn't pay attention either. And now they're on social media saying, I can't imagine what his kids are going through. And to know that this is going to be on social media forever. His kids are going to see this. Did you get on social media about George Floyd? The list is so long, you guys. Trayvon Martin, I mean, the list is so long of people who have died unjustly, murdered, innocent people who ain't done nothing to nobody. And this is the hill that some of us want to die on. This is the hill. This is the hill that some of us want to die on. I'm just thinking about all the things he said. Black people are unintelligent. Again, I'm talking about Charlie Kirk. Black men are thugs. There was where is this clip? Talking about black men being thugs. And, you can have your opinion, but why are you mad because people are saying, don't cry for him, Argentina. Don't cry for him, Argentina. Why are you mad about it? So the police officer who was recently killed in the line of duty was an Atlanta police officer. His name was David Rose, and you don't see the current president putting the flag half step. And mind you, putting the flag half step is meaning lowering the flag. Is usually reserved for people who have done paid service to the country, the military, presidents, um, um, politicians, like for lack of a better term, people of that nature who have served their country and have passed. Okay, he wasn't even of service to the country. He was just a political speaker who went around doing his job, which was to indoctrinate those. And I mean, look, I ain't mad at the strategy because he was going around to colleges. We know statistics show us that the majority of the non-voters are the youth, right? College students, people between the ages of 18 to, I want to say 35. My numbers may be a little off, maybe even a little younger. So he was doing his job to go and indoctrinate these people to believe a certain way, to think a certain way about us. And I've told you, in America, we are culturally conditioned to believe that the black man is inferior and the white man is superior. And the manifestation of that is that we are undervalued, we're definitely not respected, and we're marginalized. And so this is what he went around doing, spewing hatred. He didn't go around talking about how great the white man is. He didn't go around telling white people to stay in the homes and how to garden and eat right and live Christ-like. He went around dogging out black men and women, transgender and gays. He went around indoctrinating people to hate other people. And he definitely did a good job of it because he was able to pull multi-millions of income annually. I think he was bringing in like 90 million annually. Like the number never dropped. He's consistently brought in a number close to 90 million in income just going around speaking. So he was not a man of service, maybe to them, but his service was to bring us into the Handmaid's Tale, to bring us into having no rights as women, no rights as men if you are not a white man. This, even white women are gonna succumb to what these white nationalists are doing, and some of them love it. They think they should be under the rule of these white men. That's their business. Go do it. Do whatever they say. You can be like, coming to America and bark when he say bark. Arf, arf. Do you, boo? But that's not the life I want to live. Okay, and I will fight against it to the day I die. Because listen, I will be gone one day, and I want to leave this world better than I came into it. And I think that's a goal that we all should be trying to do, because are y'all seeing what's happening right now? So this guy, he talked about black men are inherently thugs and murderers. And you think about the statistic, if you actually go to the FBI page and find out who commits the most violent crimes, it is white men. Now, never mind. Go watch Dateline. Never mind. Go watch any crime, murder TV show. Go watch Snapped. I don't know. You can see they killing their white wives, they killing their white girlfriends. But the rhetoric is that this is what black people are doing. And we'll joke about it and say, for the most part, black people just get up and go. Now we know there's some variables there. But statistics, the facts show that white men are the ones who commit the most crime. Just like when you talk about Chicago, you notice they always, I would say it was a dog whistle before this man came back into his presidency here in 2025. It was a dog whistle to talk about Chicago. Whenever we listen to some of my favorite talk shows, you hear these white men call in and say, what about the crime in Chicago? What about the crime in Anchorage, Alaska? Have y'all done the knowledge on Anchorage, Alaska? They're one of the top 10 most dangerous cities. High population of white people, predominantly white. You have not heard one piss from anybody about Anchorage, Alaska, period. But we want to talk about Chicago. We want to talk about Minnesota. We want to talk about Detroit. We want to talk about LA. We want to talk about communities, which I say again are dog whistles, because that's where there is an influx. There's a majority black, a high population of black people. So even if there is high crime, we know that. We know that in our black community, we be doing stuff we shouldn't be doing, and we can do better. But are we going to let other people tell us that we savages? That we that bad, when I could turn on Dateline and any of these crime murder shows and find out that white men, they killing like it ain't nothing. Matter of fact, go watch a horror show. Who are they killing? They killing the hell out of white women. Like That's what they're built on. This is their thing. This is their jam. Murder, 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 murder. Hey, don't somebody got a song called Murder, Murder, Murder? Anyway, this is their jam. But they don't care about the truth because the truth was set too many people free, and they need us to stay mentally and even physically enslaved. So they tell us things that are not true. And for those who are not woke, for those who choose not to learn the facts, because if you try to Google anything, when I was Googling the governor who was the governor of Katrina during Hurricane, or governor of New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina, guess what came up first? No matter where I searched, oh, the mayor, former mayor of Katrina was arrested. Current mayor of Katrina indicted. Like, why are these black people coming up? Why are they in it? They not even governors, they mayors and former mayors. I'm just saying.com. We can't even trust social media. We can't trust what we search. We have to dig deep and go to databases where the facts are. And with this new administration, they don't even want facts. They fired this y'all's president fired a man over the employment administration because he gave the data showing that unemployment was high. Like, how you gonna fire somebody for telling the truth? So he was supposed to lie. That's what was supposed to had happen. Okay, pulling up this clip, speaking on. It's just so many clips that I could play, just speaking to this man and the things he said that were disrespectful, and so many reasons why no people aren't necessarily celebrating, but they like, hey, look, people die every day, and I'd rather it be somebody that is a menace to society. Okay. And this is an interview. He was doing a debate. He did a lot of debates with black people. I can't necessarily say that this particular person that he was debating, which looked like a young black man at a college, was equipped to deal with him. Because you have to remember, these people, if you watch Fox News, if you watch these particular white men and women who go up against educated scholars, because remember, we got to show up with letters behind our name. You know what I'm saying? We got to show up well equipped, because they'll accuse us of just being handpicked through DEI and affirmative action. So when we pull up, oh shit, our bag is full. We didn't done the knowledge. As a matter of fact, the studies, this is factual data, shows that black women are the most degreed humans here in the United States. Okay, so we doing good. And if you go look up a New York Times article while this man is dogging out black men and not being in the lives of black men, there's also a study that shows that black men spend the most time with their children overall. So if we're going to go into races, we're still at the top. We're the most influential. We're the most educated as women, and black men spend the most time with their children.com. Go tweet it. How do we know? Because they do the studies. And when we say most time, we're not saying, oh, you in the house. Because, these white men could be in the house with their white beater on and they beard with their hands, scratching their balls and beating the shit out of their family and not adding anything positive to it. Black men who may not necessarily live in the same house with their significant other or the person that they made children with, or they do, because a lot of couples aren't getting married. So the records may show that, black marriages are declining, but that don't mean people ain't together. Listen, you don't know, stay out of their business, mind your own business. And I'm gonna play another clip about David Banner. He's gonna tell us to mind our business too. But just dogging us out. So again, this young man, I don't know if he was the one, but what another strategy these white nationalists, these racists, all these people do is they overtalk and they come back with talking points. If you listen, they all say the exact same thing. And when you go do the research, you'll find that it is not true. And that's the facts. Okay, so here's another clip when he dogging out the black man.
Why have the black community gotten poorer since the passage of the Civil Rights Act? Tell me that.
Because of the way the culture has been perpetuated through the years.
Think about it. Why is it that black America has gotten richer on average, poorer on average, since America passed all these anti-racist laws?
I can't answer.
Okay, yeah. So do you think the fact that 70% of black youth don't have a dad around is probably pretty important?
That's because of the culture.
So respectfully allow me to interject. How does the white culture impact the fact whether or not a black dad stays around when he impregnates a woman?
I'm not saying it's the white culture.
What is it?
The culture that has been perpetuated through the 200 years of slavery, the 100 years of segregation, and Jim Crow laws.
The marriage. So I got to interject again. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt too much. But in 1960, before the Civil Rights Act, 20% of black youth had a dad around. Now it's I'm sorry, 20% were single fathers, 80% had a dad around. It's been inverted. So we actually have seen black dads run away from their kids the last 60 years. Why is that?
Because of the raised incarceration rates, because of the perpetuated culture.
So how does one go to jail?
That's obvious. I'm not answering that.
Yeah, so maybe it's because they committed crimes. The Holocaust was 80 years ago. Half of all the Jews on the planet were killed. Everything they earned was taken. Jews are doing great. They're the wealthiest subgroup, racial group or ethnic group in America. If all of a sudden something happened 80 years ago impacts your material prosperity, how did Jews defy the curve? How did poor Asians do so well? Why is it that Asians are now the wealthiest minority in America, many of whom came with no money in the 1950s or 60s? Why have the black community?
No facts. No facts. Just throwing it. And then you got people like, woo, yeah. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? No dads in the homes. Have you done the statistics on white families? Have you been to the child support office? Have you going to see how many white men are on child support? I'm just saying, like, what? But it works. It works. It has worked. Racism is the white man's commodity. It has worked. Divide and conquer. You're not gonna look bad. You're not gonna look at me sideways because I'm tying an infant to a horse, one leg to one mule, one leg to the other mule, and clap and watching that infant split in half. This is a black baby infant, to scare the bejesus out of their parents to obey. You're not going to look bad because I've taught you that the black man is raping white women. I've taught you that the black man steals. The black man is dumb and he's here to be subservient to the white man. I've taught you and I've conditioned you to think like that. So when I tie these babies up to this mule and clap and watch these babies split in half to put the fear of God in these black men and women, because yeah, we fighters. You wouldn't have to go that far if we weren't fighters. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have to go that far if we wasn't about that life. You wouldn't have to do so much to stop us from feeling or doing things to you, because we're trying to protect the ones we love. Okay. I mean, the list is long. You got Cory Booker, that's the senator, Senator Cory Booker. He's saying you don't have to agree with someone's ideology to see the humanity in him. Can you give me one humanity? One humanity? Well, he does have offspring. Humans do create offspring. And so does every life force in the world that is not human. Okay. Tell me one thing that is humane about a person. I need a quote. I need a clip. I be on social media. I ain't seen none yet. Like I said, even when they talk about Christianity, you had somebody say, oh, he was a Christian. And I remember listening to a black woman say that her black son said that, oh, he be speaking some good Christian stuff. And I'm just like, and she said she was done. She was done with him. Like, Christianity, do you know what you're saying? Do you know what that means? You have, so many different people just coming out. Who else just took me for a loop? It's just crazy. It's just really, really crazy how some black people, you don't have to say anything. I mean, you can just fall back and let people do them. You don't have to speak out. You're not going to change the hearts and minds of people if they feel the way they feel. And don't tell me it's wrong not to have empathy when the man said himself that he don't like empathy. Oh, you celebrating the death of somebody. I think about the Nation of Islam, and I think about Malcolm X, and I think about people who were assassinated, and they would say those were political assassinations, but really it was about humanity. It was about people fighting for freedom, justice, and equality as a man, as a woman, not to be oppressed. And if that falls under politics, it's true. But they were fighting to just be recognized as a man. And at the end of the day, to be left the fuck alone. Like, they minding their business and drinking their water. And here y'all come over here bothering us because you just can't mind your business and drink your water. Okay. You went to a whole nother continent and got some people. You couldn't just go and build your own country, your own city, state, territory on your own. You had to go fuck with people that wasn't bothering you, wasn't thinking about you, was minding their business, teaching young boys rite of passage, women how to rear their children and grow and maintain and just live a life and be healthy and free until they return to their creator. That's what they was doing. drinking their water, and here come these mofos. Okay, you know, I think about the Nation of Islam because I remember, you know, I think, you know, there was a lot of jealousy involved because Malcolm X was just becoming very popular because he wasn't holding back. But again, he wasn't spewing hatred. And even the things, his perception of the white man was even altered once he was able to travel abroad. He was able to see that the white man here in America is not the white man globally per se. He got to experience different people, you know, that had different ideologies than other people. And so when he came back, he had a different perspective. Yeah, this was something that was germane to America per se. You know, it's spread out like a germ, like a disease. We know, you know, racism is everywhere now. It's a pandemic. Racism is a pandemic. But at that time, it was more so an epidemic per se. You know, we had some issues. We had apartheid. We had issues globally still. But he came back with a different understanding, and that's sometimes what it takes. You have to travel and understand different ways of the world. But when JFK, which is our late president, John F. Kennedy Jr., was shot and killed for the world to see in the same way that this man was shot and killed for the world to see, when they were asked, you know, his perspective on the death of him, he didn't celebrate it. He didn't say, I'm glad he's dead. He didn't say, oh, this is great. Another white man's gone. He didn't say nothing like that. He said the chickens have come home to roost, saying, this is who you are. And now it's in your face. It's a manifestation of who you are. And that is what he said. And even the Nation of Islam, who this pro-black organization, was mad at him for saying that because they didn't want the that energy from the powers that be. You know what I'm saying? You got to be a warrior here. You got to really speak the truth and fight back. But he couldn't do that as a black man. And you got people talking about Charlie Kirk as if it was okay for him to do that. But a man like Malcolm X can't say what it is. The chickens have come home to roost, which was a reality because it was white on white crime. Okay, which we don't talk about. We're the only group, and I'm speaking for black people because I'm a black woman, that has a label of what we describe as when the same race commits violence or crimes amongst each other. That label only has been given to the black community, black on black crime. No, son. We see white on white crime all day. Turn on Dateline. Turn on Snap. I'm just saying, turn on any of these crime, mystery, murder, mystery things, and you see a lot of white on white crime. Y'all saw white on white crime September 10th. A 22-year-old white boy allegedly has killed a white man that they had the same ideology. Make it make sense. The man who supposedly, allegedly shot y'all's president in the ear was a white man. Make it make sense. If you go back and do the knowledge on a lot of, and it's mainly Republicans are being attacked, but they're being attacked by their own. So these people are eating their own, okay? And it's white on white crime. Even when there was the church shooting, it was I think a Christian church. I think 2 people died. The shooter ended up dying. But they focused on the fact that this person was allegedly transgender. Okay, that's what they focused on. They didn't focus. Nobody asked themselves, why are white men out here with these guns, wilding out, killing other white people like this? Why are they just slaughtering white folks like this? Because we know they don't care when they slaughter black people. They'll find some rationale. Oh, he smoked weed. Oh, he had Skittles. Oh, he had on a hoodie. Oh, he dropped out of school. Oh, he listened to rap. Yeah, but nobody yet in media has asked themselves, what the hell is going on with these white men with these guns? Like, they just out here wilding out. In facts, and it's a fact, they out here wilding out. And so, I'm just going to give you an example. I was listening to a show where a white man, he wanted to defend Charlie Kirk. And this is on the Larry Daniel Favor show. And let me tell you, she ate, y'all. She ate. And he called in defense. Now, mind you, even me talking now, am I spewing hate? Have I said anything that's celebratory of a man's death? And again, what do we call people who have not left a legacy of good? Maybe they left a legacy of hatred and separation and division. When people pass, sometimes we call them our ancestors. But what do we call people who were not so good? Because I don't hear anybody calling evil people ancestors. Is there another term for that? Somebody educate me. But yeah, this is a clip from an interview on the Larry Daniel Favor Show. Again, this is on Urban View. If you guys are not listening, listen. These are people, look, above my pay scale. They educated, they're lawyers. They listen, they doing their thug thizzles. But I love and respect them for what they do. And I consider these people to be of service. You know, they're good people. You know what I'm saying? They're not spewing hatred. They're not trying to divide people and lying to people. Okay. So here's a clip of her when a white man called in because they cannot stand to hear the word racist. They can be racist, but you can't call them racist. You can't call them what they are. I don't know what it is. It reminds me of a show I used to watch. It was something where the lady, if you said a certain thing, she just melted or turned into something or dust or something. But anyway, so this clip is her having a conversation with somebody who called in, listening to a predominantly black show from a black woman perspective, talking about Charlie Kirk and just pretty much saying what he was. I mean, just he left a legacy for us to share. We don't even have to repeat what he said. We can just play clip after clip. It's all on video. It's all on the videos. Okay. So listen to this. This is a knee slapper here.
Well, welcome, Adam. What would you like to say this morning?
Yeah, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, hey, I've been listening a little bit, first time caller. Devastated by the news, what happened yesterday, and really devastated for the trajectory of our country. My question, my thought is, from the left, it seems like you want to throw out terms like fascist and Nazis. And what would that ideology perpetuate?
What does fascism or Nazism perpetuate? I think we're all pretty clear on that. But we're talking about people who have embraced Nazi ideology and fascist ideology. So, and just so we're all on the same page, because again, words matter. Right, words really, really matter. Just so we're all clear, Charlie Kirk is the same person who said that basically, if there was a black pilot on a plane, he's not getting on a plane. Like he's someone who said that black women are wholly unintelligent, so they take jobs and positions from white people. He's the one that said the Civil Rights Act created a beast. He's the one that said a whole host of negative things. So if you're spouting negative, racist, fascist, Nazi type of commentary, then pointing out that you're spewing fascist, racist commentary doesn't make the person pointing it out a racist or a fascist. And so on this show, we don't deal with the calling a thing out is the bad thing. We look at the thing that's being called out. Does that make sense?
So painting another person that has different beliefs, whether those beliefs are abhorrent or not, and then calling somebody a fascist or a Nazi, in turn calls for violence against that group of people.
So, I see where you're coming from. You're one of those people who believes that being called a racist is worse than the racist thing that was being called out. So we just don't do that here. You have a frame of reference that might work really well for you, but for us, it's a frame of reference that is really within the realm of the unlearned and the uneducated. So we're not going to say, so what we do is we point out the thing. So if the sky is blue, we say the sky is blue. We don't look at the person that said the sky is blue and said, you're a bluist, you're a colorist. Why didn't you say the sky can also be white? Aren't clouds white? It can be both. The sky can also be black. You're a colorist. So we don't do that here. If you say racist, fascist things, we're going to identify those things as racist and fascist because that's what people with common sense do. And as somebody who grew up in Germany, a nation that has a real history of dealing with Nazism and of then having to recover from Nazism, I'm in a pretty good position to be able to identify it. I study it. I don't know how much of this you study. From your comments, I'm not quite sure if you're studying this topic or if you're experiencing and feeling this topic, which does provide a different frame of reference. But we don't do the thing here where we say you can't call out a thing for being a thing, because that to us is what unlearned people do. Does that make sense?
Okay, my other question is, what states and cities have some of the strictest gun laws in the nation?
Oh, well, that would be a valid question if we didn't have a nation that didn't have gun violence as a national issue. So if we look at the individual states that are trying to do a thing, and then we extrapolate from that what the nation is doing, if those things are not incompatible, if they're not working together, they undermine each other. I'll put it to you like this. If I have siblings, right? Let's say we all live in a house, we're all siblings, and I keep my room really, really clean. Like my room is pristine. It is phenomenally clean. Like you could eat off my floors. You could rub food on the walls and know the walls. You could just eat, and it's an amazingly clean space. But let's say you're my brother and you're next door to me, or you're somewhere else in the house and you are dirty, like so dirty, like you're not using soap to wash your hands, so you're spreading germs. You're not using like a washcloth to clean your body, so like you're an unkempt person. Let's say hypothetically in this example, your room is trashed. You're not you eat and you throw crumbs all over the place. Even though my room is pristine and clean, because we live in the same house, the rats and the roaches that you are bringing into the household are also going to make their way into my household. So to us here, where we do things based on facts and education, it is a false conversation to say that there are states that have really extreme gun laws but still have gun violence without looking at the reasons that can happen, because those states with really good gun laws live in a nation that has terrible gun laws, has a very powerful gun lobby that basically uses its position to ensure that legislators won't actually pass gun control. And then we end up in situations like this, where we are the only nation on the planet that, yes, has mental health issues, as does every other nation. Yes, we have video games that are violent, as does every other nation, but we're the only nation on the planet that has the unique position of allowing as many people as possible to have access to weapons, including the mentally ill, who the Democrats tried to pass legislation and did that would prevent them from getting access to guns and weapons and engaging in these sorts of behaviors. And then Republicans came in and undid all of that. Does that make sense to you, sir?
Okay, so I see what you're doing here. You're putting me on mute so you can spout all of your left wing.
Oh, don't put him on mute. Don't put him on mute. Here's the thing. You called me. I didn't call you. I don't even know you. I don't really even like you, but you called me. And so since you called me, you're the one asking to speak with me. Unlike you, sit behind a microphone where there are thousands of people on a YouTube channel, millions of people listening. Actually, now you can shut them down. Now you can shut them. Now you can be quiet. Now you can be quiet. Because this is how the power dynamic works. You don't have power in this situation to come into a show where we deal with facts and then just spout comments that aren't tied to reality. We have been very respectful. We have bent over backwards to not allow anyone in our audience to violate the memory of that man. We have talked about what he said. We have talked about what he's done. You who don't even listen to this show decided to call up and air your emotions. You should probably be talking to a therapist, but you called into a talk show where we are having a fact-based conversation about the realities of gun violence and political violence in this country. And you think we should just hold you gently by the hand and stare you into your eyes while you just get to lie and divert the conversation? That's not going to happen. So the reason I'm saying you called me and I have a platform is because there is a power differential here. And based on what you said thus far, I'm fairly certain that the power differential is what's really bothering you, because I, as a Black woman, not allowing you to talk. And yes, you will be put on mute because I am going to be the one that has the final word here, because it's my show. It is called the Lareed Daniel Favors Show, not the Adam on Line 7 from South Dakota show. But I will give you a final comment if you'd like to. Oh, he's still talking. Well, let's hear what he has to say, because it might be something worthwhile. Oh, yeah, go ahead. We listening now.
Yeah, I'm saying painting another group as fascist, Nazis, racist, whatever, because they might have a different opinion than you.
Are their opinions racist?
Oh,
Adam, is it racist to say Black people are not qualified to be pilots simply because they're Black? Is that a racist comment?
I haven't.
Yes or no? You don't have to hear it. You don't have to hear it. You called me. You don't have to hear it. I don't care if you're a racist person. I don't care if you got a racist bone in your fucking body. If you're spouting racist comments, I'm going to say that shit is racist. And a ding-dong like you calling into me to say, hey, why'd you call it racist? The obvious answer is that I said it was racist because it's racist. If you say, this is the problem with white nationalist thinking. You don't want to take responsibility. You are the least responsible for everything. White nationalists will say anything and then get upset that you pointed out that what they said was bad. You don't want to take responsibility. You descend from an ancestry that came into land that you did not, it wasn't yours. You claimed it as your homeland, and then you get mad when people say you genocided the land. You came from people who trafficked Africans by the millions because you didn't have the intellectual capacity to even know how to farm that land. You had the intellectual capacity to be a thief and a stealer and a human trafficker, and you descend from people who brought Africans over here and then get mad when we point that out as being a slavery, genocidal, racist thing to do. I don't know what you expect from the rest of humanity. You just think that all the rest of us are just supposed to allow you to just skeet your violence and your misogyny and your racism and your terrorism all over the planet, and we're just supposed to gobble it up because it came from the mouths of you? Like, what an inflated sense of ego. What an inflated sense of an overindulgent sense of importance that you should not have because you do not have the capacity to carry it. We have bent over fucking backwards to not call that man out for the awful things that he has done. And we will continue to do so. Why? Because we're better than you. Not because of something genetic, simply because our culture would not allow us to delve into the levels of inhumanity that you seem to be willing to rot in. Anything else you want to add before we could say goodbye and prepare this to go up on YouTube and just talk about it ad nauseum in the comments?
Yes, yeah. This is exactly why an innocent man with a different ideology was shot and killed on mainstream TV yesterday. Because of this hate that you spew.
Wait, what hate? I really shouldn't even waste my time here, but now I'm intrigued. What hate? Where's the hate, Adam?
Calling other people fascist, racist, uneducated.
Okay, so here we go. Let me just ask you this final question. Is it worse to be a fascist or to be called a fascist for doing fascist things? Actually, I don't even want your answer. We're just gonna let you sit with that. Just let that sit in your spirit to the extent that you still have one that can hear the voice of reason. Is it worse to be a fascist or to be called a fascist for doing fascist things? If you say it's the latter, you are the problem. Because that lack of being willing to take responsibility, that unwillingness to sit in the discomfort, stand on it. You want to say fascist, racist shit, stand on it. I have no respect for people who are going to be racist and then try to hide from the repercussions. I love me a proud racist. If you're going to be racist on these airways, stand on business. Do that shit and do it right. If you're going to be a fascist, don't call up here mad because we identify your fascist behavior as fascism. Stand on business. Handle your shit. Do that and do it with your full chest, because otherwise you just sound like a bitch. Like you're calling a show where we are not in any way negatively talking about that man. We are talking about the horrors of political violence, and you want us to coddle you? God, just some weak, namby-pamby, middling, flaccidly limp behaviors. And add them to the block list. This is just, we shouldn't have to do all this.
We shouldn't. That's why black women be resting. We tired of this. But when we check you, God, you know she ate. So let me tell y'all, this is the great Laree Daniel Favors. Go to YouTube and look up Laree Daniel Favors. You can hear her for free on YouTube. If you have a subscription to Sirius XM, you can go to Urban View. She's on Monday through Friday. I think 10 a.m. our time, but she's on in the morning. I think she's the second show of the morning live. Did she eat though? Did she check? Where was the lie? No lies detected. This is what we go through. We have to freaking check these people. But did you notice he wasn't there to learn? He wasn't there to be educated. He wasn't there to understand. He was only there to make sure y'all wasn't calling people fascists and racists that were fascists and racist. That's all he was worried about. Okay? Jesus. I love us. I love us because we, listen, Laree Daniel Favors is the truth. She heads as an attorney for social justice. I can't get all of the other things out. So go to YouTube, look up Laree Daniel Favors, rhymes with Marie. That's my girl. But in the meantime, you still got people on social media that look like us telling us that, we shouldn't be celebrating. But nobody's celebrating. It's one thing when white people are saying what they saying. Like, where was he at when them white Catholic? What about the school shooting? What was that? Oh, a while ago when all those precious babies were killed. Where was this man at talking about gun violence and how awful that was? All that white on white crime, all them white babies killed at a school. You over here defending a man who all his rhetoric was hatred. I got so many clips. I'm reading one. This is another black woman who said, he is no longer alive. Let the man rest. Proving him wrong while he was alive would have been more satisfying than taking his life. That only shows weakness. It actually proves him right. Not only slavery, not about slavery, but about his overall thought process. She's talking about Charlie Kirk speaking out since people are, this is what's trending. She goes on to say, most of our neighbors, managers, and associates agree with him. They just don't speak up like he did. So if you punch a clock every day and abide by the law, you can't be mad. If you are mad, then you should have stood up to speak on it like those who actually fight and travel to be a part of these debates. Take a seat next to him and go toe to toe. Why? A wise person once said, before I continue, let me just say this. A wise person once said, and I definitely agree with them, that I only debate my equals. The rest I teach. Okay. So she goes on to say, everyone is speaking from behind a keyboard, including her, and I just added that, including her, not as brave as he was to actually publicly speak on his beliefs, not just speaking on it, but acting on it, putting it all into action, stepping outside and proving it to us. Yes, it's white privilege, and yes, he was racist, but it's like he won because he died before anyone could prove him wrong. What the fuck? Do you read a book? Debating him is not to prove him wrong. Debating him is just to have a full-blown argument with a person. And who does that? Again, I only debate with my equals. Okay? Because iron sharpens iron around here. The rest of y'all, you're going to learn today. Okay? So who would waste their time? That's like if one of my favorite people, Larry Daniel Favors, I would bet my last motherfucking dollar she would never have a conversation or a debate with Candace Owens. She looking at her like she 2 feet tall. Okay, girl, bye. Okay, let's keep it 100. He wasn't speaking truth. He had an agenda, which is to spew propaganda and poison the minds of those who may not yet have been influenced. I can't imagine anybody coming into the world hating. They're taught hate. People are taught to hate. People are taught to be racist and prejudiced because of what they're taught about people, what they're taught about gays, what they're taught about Black, Asian, Hispanic, just people. They're conditioned to think one way. And in order to undo that, you have to go out and unlearn. You have to go out and do the knowledge and find at least the truth. You can make up your own mind. Yes, I'm hot. Yeah, because, this been boiling all week. Icarice Entertainment. Thank you for joining me on YouTube and chatting in the chat. Thank you to everybody who's in the chat listening. But I can't rock with this. We should have been up speaking out against him. Why are we giving him the attention? And again, the only thing I can agree on is, yeah, his message lives on, because right now this man is his body probably not even cold yet, right? But all the things he said, all the propaganda that he spewed out into the universe is being put out times 1,000. Everybody, people that didn't know him. When I was talking to my speed, did you hear about this white guy that got shot? Everybody, it's in an uproar, and he like, who? And now he knows about him, but he wasn't paying attention to him. And what does it mean to debate somebody, to go toe to toe and tell them they're wrong? Like if you call into the radio station, like that brother, forgive me. Ugh. All right, I took that out of my mouth. For that white guy who called in to defend fascism and racism, saying, hey, you can be fascist and racist, but you can't say it. You can't say it. Because he still think we pre-civil rights. He still think Black people shouldn't be allowed to say whatever. So this I'm reading a quote from a woman. When I was reading it, that was a Black woman I was quoting. A public post on Facebook I didn't repeat her name because I didn't get her permission, but it was public. Saying that we should go toe to toe. What the fuck? I got better things to do. You know what? As a matter of fact, I gotta walk my fish. Matter of fact, I need to go vacuum the beach. I ain't got time to have a debate with somebody who knows they're lying because they know they're lying. And the whole point is they have an agenda. Their agenda is white supremacy. I don't know how you're gonna ever be supreme. You just it's not yeah. But their whole agenda is to rule over people, to oppress people, to sit on their asses while other people bring in income for them and they treat them like shit. That is their overall goal. That's for everybody, including white women who actually support this mess. They support it. So shout out to Laree Daniel Favors. I love her just because she just, them attorneys, they be going forward. You had this man talking about gun violence. He talked about how, we have to have more gun violence to support having the First Amendment, to be able, is that the Second Amendment? To be able to tote a gun. He said that. Live by the gun, die by the gun. Shout out to Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand how people can even have a level of pushback for people who are saying, look, it's you now. And like I said, when all of this happened, nobody knew who did it. I talked about how, look, they weren't even trying to, interview and investigate the people who were present. So to me, my antennas went up. I was already like, yeah, this sounds fishy. This don't sound all the way together. And in my mind, who's to say that it wasn't his own people? Aside from the person they accused, because remember when Malcolm X was killed, the person they accused wasn't the person. When JFK was killed, was it JFK? No, when Martin Luther King was killed, the initial person that they accused, I don't believe, I'm getting my stories mixed up, was not the person that later on was considered to be the actual killer. Like, you can't really trust these people who are telling you things. There's a saying that says, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. That's a wisdom. That's a wisdom and a science to getting through this world, because people are liars and the devil is the author of confusion and the master of deception. That is his job, and he does it so well. Somebody give the devil a gold star. I'm just saying.com. We're the ones who need to stay on point. We cannot rest. We cannot sleep because, now you think our television and social media and our news outlets were infiltrated. Oh, hell. It's gotten worse. The ones that did have hair on their chest and would say it with their chest, they are even fearful of speaking out. It's just, go watch some Hitler documentaries. You'll understand what's happening here. You'll understand what's happening. So yeah, I have my thoughts. People are talking about, he was talking about the Epstein. Again, I'm talking about Charlie Kirk. Again, the person who killed him is allegedly this 22-year-old man who was a MAGA supporter. You just never know. And then you have Nazis. I have a clip of Nazis out in the streets saying, fight back. This is before they knew who it was. So in their mind, they assume that some black person that was at home sipping their tea, drinking their water, and minding their business decided to go to Utah and sit 200 yards away from Charlie Kirk and shoot his ass in the neck. That's what they thought a black man, a woman, or child wanted to do with their day. And so that's what they were saying. They were saying, white man, fight back. White man, fight back. This is what they in the streets yelling. Come to find out, it's one of them, because they eat their own. Okay. And but before that, they were just telling people, you go on Fox News, you go with these commentators. These are people that people consider reputable because they're getting a check and they look nice on television and they in a suit. They feel like these people are respectable, and they're on TV telling people it's time for war. War against who? These people are doing everything they can to incite violence against us, not just black people, not just Latino people, not just so-called Christians, because they didn't hijack Christianity in the same way they hijacked the Republicans. That's another thing. People are out here talking about, oh, we need our own party. We need our own party. Motherfucker, they didn't get a new party. They just hijacked the Republican Party. Now it's MAGA. That's all they did. They didn't go get their own. It eventually, I don't even think it would even branch off, because the people that's amongst the Republican Party are capitulating. They fallen in line. They they being punked, and some of them they with it anyway. So it's right up their alley, you know. But yeah, so it's just y'all, it's so much. But I also want to play this clip. There was a lady, she spoke on it. You know, we're talking about white on white crime. Like I said, I think that this was all done to my opinion, and I could be wrong, and I would like to be wrong. To incite a war. They did this intentionally to try. They're doing everything they can to try to get us out in the streets. We just told y'all, as a 92%, we are minding our business. That ain't mean we ain't fighting back. Shout out to David Horowitz. You know, I'm aging myself, but y'all remember that show? Some of y'all Fight Back, but that was about consumerism. But back to the point. Yes, we still pushing back, but we not out there. Y'all not gonna have us out in them streets getting caught up with y'all ignorance. We not fighting for y'all. We fighting for us. We fight for our future. What y'all want to do is your business. Do you, boo. You think about white on white crime. There's been over 252 mass shootings just this year in 2025. What is 2025 in mathematics again? This is the seven. This is the born year. So it's be a born in mathematics. And so in the born year, there's been 252 mass shootings, over 200 deaths, and over 1,100 injuries. Who are those people who are shooting and killing people? Who are these people who are going into churches and schools and public arenas and killing people? What do they look like? Are they Black? Are they Latino? Are they immigrants? Are they trans? Who are these people? 99.999% of them are who? They are white males, but they're not having that conversation. That conversation is not trending. The conversation goes back to gun rights. They want to talk about, they just want to take away our rights. They're not talking about there's a real epidemic here in this country with white men and guns. Like, that is a real thing. And they don't even care. They just want to divert the attention to Chicago, to Detroit, to LA. They want to divert the attention. Can y'all go look at Anchorage, Alaska? They on the top 10 list of crime. Only white people out there wilding out. Go watch Dayline. I'm just saying.com. Go. There's a clip I wanted to play. What was this? Oh, goodness. There's so many clips, and we're not going to get to them all. The clock is ticking, and normally we're here for 1.5 hours, and we're moving it to 2, and I don't want to take it over that. But it's just so much, and I just want to get this off my chest so we can move forward, and I know many of you do too, and just move forward. But this is a distraction, you guys. They have an influx of shit. We can't wake up without not one thing, not two things, and it's major stuff. You got the Epstein file, you got mass shootings, you got a man being killed that was running around speaking hate. You got, the list is so long. Like, where do you start? And this is their intentions, to bombard you. You know, maybe, Kendrick Lamar's on to something. Turn the TV off. And that's just not the television. That's your social media. That's all of those platforms where you get your news and information from. And I know it's hard because you got to keep your ear to the streets per se. But at the same time, it's done to distract you. This is a big distraction. Like just quoting this lady who said he's getting what he wants. In a way, yes, his message lives on. But the thing about it is his message is not a positive one. And those who believe in him ain't going to stop. And those who didn't, if they choose to be indoctrinated after his demise, that's their business. That's who they are. You heard the lady, Larry Daniel Favors, are weak. They're weak. They don't even realize that these people are even picking their pockets. If you make the lowest white man think that he's better than the greatest Black man, he will allow you, and I'm paraphrasing, to pick his pockets. He would allow you to do whatever, take away his health care. He would allow you to take away his wife's reproductive rights. He would allow you to take away all of his freedoms and privileges so that other people can't have it. It's called cutting off your nose to spite your face, and that's what's happening. I think about, how they hijacked Christianity. Yes, they hijacked the Republican Party, not to say the Republican Party were angels, but they didn't took it up to a whole new level. When you got this quote I'm reading from the lady who said, why did we speak up there when he was public? You know why we didn't speak up. We don't have the same privilege. In the same sentence, you said, yeah, they have white privilege. That's exactly why we can't just come out and say whatever. Nobody is doing that. Nobody can do that without the fear of repercussion. without the fear of repercussion. And it's just a reality. So we gotta, be strategically. I play my enemies like a game of chess where I rest, no stress. We don't smoke cess unless. Shout out to Lauryn Hill. I'm just saying the thing is we have to be strategic. We can't just say whatever we thinking because we live in a white man's world and they have the power to take us out. They infiltrated the policing system. It can kill us and nobody says anything. The same man said that George Floyd was a criminal and that he died of an overdose, not because this police officer Chauvin had his knee on his neck for 9 minutes. And you mad that people are not mad that he's dead. I mean, nobody's celebrating per se, but we like, geez, you know what I'm saying? Like one less person to spew negativity and to say the most awfulest thing. What if somebody has said something like that about your loved one? What would you be thinking right now? What would you be saying? Would you be plotting on his demise? I'm just saying, there's so much, y'all. I don't want to keep y'all for so long, but I do want to play a couple of more clips. Oh my goodness, it's just so much. Just thinking about, even, just to sum it up, I'll just say this. Even David Banner, he got on a platform not to speak specifically about Charlie Kirk, but to just remind us is to stay out of white folks' business. Look, they look, mind your business. Remember, we drink our water and mind our business. That's why we don't be cracking. You know what I'm saying? How we be looking. So I want to, just send a reminder to you to hear him out. But before I even do that, I want to, chime in on Amanda Seales, who, is speaking to people who aren't empathetic to what's happening right now. And again, all of this to me is a distraction. It's just something to keep us looking over here while they doing what they doing over there. It's just a masterclass in distraction. They've done it. I can't, listen, I'm not one to, if you doing it, you doing it. I'm going to give you your props. Not that I agree with it or like it, but I'm going to give you your props. Okay. You're doing very, very good at it because you got Black people that ain't never said nothing about nothing, not even about their own people coming out to defend the life and the death of this man. And it's in the sake of political freedoms. Where were all of y'all? This is it. This the hill y'all dying on. That's all I'm saying. .com. This is all I'm saying. But yeah, let me get some Amanda Seales in, and then I'm gonna get this David Banner in before we wrap it up in about 5 minutes. But she got something to say about it.
Maybe I'm just so calloused by how many actual leaders and good people have been assassinated by state-sanctioned violence for the many years that we have been on this earth, that I just can't relate to y'all who are like, well, you don't have to agree with the way someone lives to not agree with them being murdered. Yeah, I do. Because especially if their extermination was literally done in the exact context within which they said others should die.
Yeah.
They had no problem with other lives being taken by gun violence. None. And so I do have to agree with how you live in order to care about how you died. I don't know why you don't.
I don't know why you don't. And now y'all want to repent for him. Y'all want to say that maybe he repented and he's a changed man on the other side. Again, I'm still waiting for the term we call people that have been bad in this life that transition, because we know the good ones, the ones that left us with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, we consider our ancestors. We call on them to guide us. What do we call these people? Is there a name for them? I don't know the name. I really don't. It's really amazing. It amazes me. And I guess that's the thing that really just got me heated. But here's David Banner. If y'all don't know, brother, he has something to say to Black people. Here's a message to us Black folks.
Black people, stay out of these folk business. We got the best opportunity in recent history to push our culture forward because of all of this anarchy all over the world. This is the time that we could be getting our shit together. And it's like our culture is being passed around like a $2 whore. And it ain't Man, we ain't got to speak on everything. We ain't got to talk about everything. We ain't got to have debates about shit that most of us don't know nothing about. And it ain't even our business in a lot of cases. You know, stuff or media outlets that say that they're about hip hop, that say that they're about black people, number one, usually are owned by young white boys who don't care nothing about the culture. And they keep up drama in our neighborhoods. They keep us shooting at each other, and they are never held responsible for the things that they stir up in our community. And y'all don't hold them responsible for what they do. Most of the stuff that is riled up in our community, most of our people don't even give a fuck about. Who's dying in their community, what's going on in their community, and then we won't engage in the shit that affects us, that really, really affects us. So y'all leave them folks alone and let's get our own shit together. Fuck everything that's going on. I don't even care. It don't matter to me one way or another. And then they will make comments back to us and we'll reply back. Fuck them. Just stop it, y'all. And they know that we'll react to anything that they say, anything that they put out. And just because it has hip hop in front of it, just because it has black folks speaking for it, don't mean that it's a part of our culture. Another thing, I wasn't gonna say this, but man, folks who are lame as fuck, who normally wouldn't have had a seat at any table in the black community. If white people get them folks a channel or a podcast or a little bit of bread or the right car, let them date the right woman, we'll let them speak for our community. A lot of them motherfuckers lame. They been lame. We didn't like them in the beginning, but white folks kept putting them on TV and we kept accepting them. Yeah. Y'all, we gotta do better. We are not a fucking whore-like community. Or are we? Or are we? Are we to be passed around for any community, any person that needs to get on that use our community and then spit us out? No. And y'all keep talking about that shit. Stop it. Just stop it. I'm back to being happy. Black people.
Listen. Stay out of their business. Stop coming out, caping for them, speaking out for them, empathizing with them. They don't even want you to empathize with them. That's not what they're here for. That's not what they're here for. They're here to take us down by any means necessary. Do lie, cheating, and stealing. This is why they're taking away education. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to even have a desire to know and to learn. They just want to teach us what they want us to know. They want to be revisionist historians and lie like they've always done. Growing up, many of us didn't have respect for the continent of Africa, where the first original man and woman was born, that brought forth life, because they conditioned us to believe that Black people in Africa were just African booty scratchers, that they just sat around with their noses bloated, their stomachs bloated and their noses running, and they were starving. To this day, if you go out and learn and educate your own self, you will see all over the continent beautiful land, rich, wealthy people, beautiful, just lovely places to be in the continent. But we weren't exposed to that because we needed to be conditioned to think of ourselves as less than. We needed to be conditioned to not think of ourselves as kings and queens and leaders and being capable of greatness. And whenever we spoke on that, when we bigged up Black women and Black men and our children and our accomplishments, they said, well, what if we said white? What if we said we had white history? That's all we've ever learned is white history. And it hasn't even been factual. It's just been his story. It's a lot, y'all. If you're not following Isaac Hayes the third, the son of Isaac Hayes the second, who has a social media app, which escapes me right now, which I have, but he's saying it that we need our own. And here's a app you can invest in. We can have our own platform, but still we go to these other platforms because we still think and believe that the white man's ice water is colder. And I will continue to educate you on getting cold ice water. Just add a little bit more salt, and at freezing temperatures, it'll be even colder. Okay, that's all you got to do. You ain't got to go to the white man. Just add a little bit extra salt to the water, and that's how you get it to be colder at freezing temperatures. Okay, you got a president telling us that they invented everything. I talked about that, and I'm gonna go out with a little levity. I do want to just thank you guys. Let me go ahead and get my applause in for all of you guys who have been watching and listening. Even to those who watch later, I appreciate y'all. Hit the like button. Subscribe to me on YouTube, please. Comment if you like the content. Um, share your thoughts. Just don't be rude. Don't be mean. Don't say nothing crazy. I know those mostly be bots, but I would appreciate that. And we have to just stick together. And next week we'll talk more about community and what we need to do. Because one of the things that General Honore, when I was talking about him, he was the one who went into Katrina and was like, "Get them guns off these people. They need to be rescued, not shot." One of the things he spoke on an interview I was listening to was that we need to have a leader on each street in our community so we know how to rescue each other, because no one's coming to save us. We saw that with Hurricane Katrina. No one's coming to save us, but we have to be prepared. So if you're in community with the people in your neighborhood, set up some. He said each street. He didn't say in that neighborhood or that community. He said on each street there should be someone who leads the people, and has some type of organization where we meet with hot dogs and burgers and we discuss our exit strategy, our way to protect ourselves. And it has to come back to community. And that's so very, very important. But again, I want to thank you guys for watching and chatting. Let me get my applause in. And y'all, it's on like Donkey Kong. I can't wait for this fight. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Oh, I said we were going to go out with a little levity. Let me do that. Maybe not. This is a comedy clip. But anyway, I just want to leave you with this quote. I'll just do this and I'll say, may life treat you like you treat a Black woman. I'll say it again. May life treat you like you treat a Black woman. Love and respect. See you next Saturday, you guys.